Tension had been simmering for days, but no one imagined it would explode the way it did. One moment, Mendeecees was laughing with the group, enjoying the music and the drinks. The next, absolute chaos broke loose before anyone could intervene. Shocking, right? No one expected things to spiral so fast that Mendeecees would end up in handcuffs. What was supposed to be a peaceful Mexican getaway for Yandy Smith-Harris and Mendeecees turned into a nightmare. A heated back and forth escalated into a physical altercation, and within minutes, fists were flying. The most jaw-dropping moment? Local authorities arriving and dragging Mendeecees away in front of Yandy. How did things get this bad? Who was involved? And more importantly, what happens to Mendeecees now? We've gathered first-hand accounts and exclusive details about the arrest, so stay locked in. Everything started smoothly. Yandy looked stunning in a white summer fit, lounging near the private poolside bar. Mendeecees was relaxed, joking with a few of the men, and the vibe felt easy, as if the couple was finally enjoying a break from the drama. Witnesses say that earlier in the afternoon, an argument quietly sparked between Mendeecees and a cast member whose identity is still being protected. The exchange was low-key but tense. Even though no yelling happened at first, Mendeecees' body language was unmistakable. Stiff shoulders, clenched jaw, eyes locked. Yandy even stepped in, touching his arm to diffuse the moment, but the energy didn't settle. The trigger? Someone brought up Mendeecees' past legal issues, a topic that has always been a sore spot for him. According to one source, he tensed up instantly, like he was ready for someone to push the wrong button. The argument cooled, but never resolved. Later, guests spotted Mendeecees pacing the resort alone, muttering under his breath, clearly trying to calm himself down. Then came dinner, an upscale beachfront restaurant, candles glowing, waves crashing softly. On the surface, everything seemed calm again. But tension sat at the table like an uninvited guest. As plates were served, the same cast member decided to poke the bear one more time. He tossed a slick comment about a hustler always being a hustler, while Mendeecees was mid-bite. Mendeecees froze. He set his fork down slowly, his jaw tightening. Yandy immediately placed a hand on his forearm, whispering, "Not here, not tonight." Mendeecees lunged forward with zero hesitation. The table shook as he shoved it aside. His voice was low, dangerously calm, like the quiet before a tornado. Before anyone could pull them apart, Mendeecees landed a punch that sent the man stumbling into the next table. The cast member recovered and swung back, catching Mendeecees in the jaw. But the fight was already in full motion, and seconds later, resort security and local police rushed in. But it was already too late. The two men were swinging at each other with full force, locked in a violent clash that turned the entire restaurant upside down. Staff members panicked, some shouting for security, others ducking for cover, while cast members scrambled onto the wooden deck, tripping over chairs in their attempt to escape the escalating fight. Security rushed in, but the situation was far from under control. One guard got shoved aside as he tried to break them apart. A bar cart flipped over during the chaos, sending bottles crashing to the floor. The sharp sound of breaking glass echoed through the beachside restaurant as the brawl raged on. It took several security officers to finally pry the two men apart. Mendeecees staggered back, breathing heavily, while guests either ran for the exits or pulled out their phones to record every moment of the madness. Yandy, meanwhile, was a complete wreck, crying, screaming for Mendeecees to stop, her voice cracking with panic. Just when everyone thought things were calming down, a new wave of terror swept through the air. Flashes of blue and red lights flooded the restaurant's entrance, casting distorted shadows across the broken tables and shattered glass. The once lively beachfront dinner had transformed into pure chaos, and for a moment, it felt like the situation might spiral even further out of control. Yandy froze. Fear spread across her face as police cruisers rolled up. Her heartbeat thundered in her ears. The lights, the noise, the screams from shocked bystanders. It all mixed into a nightmare she wished she could escape. The cast member who fought with Mendeecees leaned against a knocked-over chair, bruised but smirking. Yandy whispered urgently, "Get him out of here." But it was too late. Officers were already approaching, their hands on their belts, scanning the destruction. Mendeecees stood nearby, fists still clenched, chest rising and falling rapidly. He looked like he was caught between anger and shock. The restaurant manager rushed to the first officer inside, speaking rapidly in Spanish and pointing toward the broken furniture and the two men who caused the commotion. This wasn't America. This was Mexico, and the consequences here could be far more severe. Realizing the gravity of the situation, Yandy snapped out of her daze and ran to Mendeecees. She grabbed his arm, her voice frantic. But the police didn't care about explanations. They moved in quickly, surrounding Mendeecees, their tone sharp and commanding. One officer raised his handcuffs, signaling that he was being detained. "Wait." "No, you don't understand," she shouted, her fear morphing into fury. He wasn't the one who started this. He was defending himself. Her words didn't matter. The officers continued speaking over her, stating that Mendeecees was being arrested for assault and that if he refused to comply, they would forcefully detain him. Mendeecees looked ready to snap again, but when he saw the terror in Yandy's eyes, something shifted. His breathing slowed. His shoulders dropped. For his family, for Yandy, he swallowed his frustration. The handcuffs clicked shut around his wrists, and in an instant, he stopped being a vacationer and became a man facing detention in a foreign country. Officers grabbed his arms and turned him sharply, pushing him toward the exit. "He can't go." "Stop. He didn't start this." He wasn't the aggressor. Her voice echoed across the restaurant, but the officers hardly looked at her. Behind them, the cast stood frozen. Some held up their phones, recording, while others whispered in disbelief at how fast everything had escalated. The other man, the one who provoked the fight, leaned back in his chair with a smug expression. He'd pushed Mendeecees' buttons, and now Mendeecees was the one paying the price. Yandy refused to stand by and watch. As officers escorted Mendeecees outside, she ran after them, shouting in broken Spanish and English, anything she could think of, hoping anyone would listen. As Mendeecees was escorted toward the waiting police van, the flashing red and blue lights washed over the street, drawing the attention of curious onlookers. People gathered in clusters, some whispering, others recording, as officers pushed him toward the open doors at the back of the van. Just before the doors closed, he turned to look at Yandy. His eyes held a painful mix of fear, rage, and helplessness. He mouthed, "I'm sorry," but Yandy couldn't hear anything over the piercing sirens. She was crying too hard to make out his words anyway, her desperation growing by the second. This was the moment her heart shattered. She had seen Mendeecees in handcuffs before, back in the States, but this was entirely different. This was Mexico, a foreign country with a different legal system and consequences she couldn't control. As the van pulled away, she stood frozen on the street, tears streaking down her face, powerless as the man she loved disappeared into the night. Behind her, the cast slowly made their way back into the restaurant. Staff members began clearing the broken glasses and overturned chairs while guests quietly discussed the madness they had just witnessed. Yet Yandy couldn't focus on any of that. She refused to allow Mendeecees to sit in a Mexican jail cell, not after everything they had survived together. Wiping her tears, she steadied her breathing and pulled out her phone. With shaking hands, she called a lawyer and started making arrangements. "I'm not leaving Mexico without you," she whispered, more to herself than anyone else. Whatever it took, she was going to bring him home. Even though Mendeecees was released on bail hours later, the situation had already spiraled beyond their control. Headlines exploded across the internet. Blogs exaggerated the story. Social media fueled it even more. Some accused him of being aggressive, others claimed the fight was a setup. Whatever the truth was, it was clear that this wasn't going away easily. Later that night, Mendeecees sat quietly on the hotel suite's couch, scrolling through the endless stream of articles and messages. New rumors were popping up by the minute. Yandy stood near the window, arms folded tightly, staring at the glowing city lights with a tense expression. "We have to be careful with how we respond," she said firmly. "People are waiting for us to mess up." Mendeecees rubbed his temples, exhausted. I hear you, but what do you want me to do? Stay silent while everyone lies on my name? His hone buzzed nonstop. Family, friends, and cast members all demanding answers about what really went down. Just then, Yandy's phone rang. It was the show's product. Yandy, this is getting out of hand. The producer rushed. The network is panicking. This controversy is bigger than we expected. Yandy, please listen, the producer said. You two cannot react emotionally. We need to control the narrative. The more he talked, the tighter her jaw became. She had a sinking feeling the producers had knowingly stirred tension between Mendeecees and the other cast member. Now that everything had blown up, they were scrambling to cover themselves. We want you and Mendeecees to sit for an exclusive interview, the producer continued. Tell your side. Make it clear this wasn't reckless or intentional. After she hung up, Mendeecees shook his head. They don't care about clearing the truth. They're just trying to save their ratings. As much as she hated feeding into the network's plans, she knew they had no choice. Public opinion was already forming against Mendeecees. If they didn't speak now, they might never be able to repair the damage. The next day, their hotel suite was transformed into a mini set. Cameras were everywhere. A well-known journalist sat across from them, ready to ask the hard questions. Behind them, security footage played, shaky but clear enough to show the other cast member repeatedly shoving Mendeecees before Mendeecees finally snapped. To be honest, I was trying to walk away, he said. I didn't come to Mexico for drama. I came to relax with my wife. But he kept provoking me, kept pushing me, and yeah, I lost my temper. He didn't take pride in any of it, and the reporters seemed to understand. Then came the question everyone had been waiting for. Many people believe you were set up, that the entire situation was orchestrated for ratings. What do you think? Look, I won't pretend that drama isn't a part of reality TV. It is. But this was real life. When people are exhausted, stressed, and pushed too far, things can spiral out of control quickly. Mendeecees exhaled, lowered his eyes for a brief moment, then looked straight into the camera. I regret losing my temper. I regret putting my family through this. But do I regret defending myself? No. Within hours, the interview exploded online. Supporters praised his honesty, while skeptics insisted there was more to the story. Either way, the situation had escalated again. The cast member involved in the altercation went live on Instagram from his car. Staring into the camera, he claimed, "Man, I was just joking around. I didn't think he'd really swing on me like that. And now I'm the villain? Y'all don't know the full story. There was more going on, something deeper. Some people don't like you knowing their secrets. But what if people believe him?" Yandy shot back. What if the network uses this and blows it up even more? Yandy sighed. She knew how unforgiving rumors could be. Once they spread, stopping them was nearly impossible. A few days later, they flew back to the US hoping to escape the chaos. But the moment they landed, paparazzi swarmed them with cameras flashing and questions flying. They pushed through the airport, but Yandy knew the storm wasn't over. That night, exhausted on their couch, she noticed Mendeecees deep in thought. What if we let them talk? Let them guess. And when the time is right, we reveal our own truth. Something bigger. Her eyebrows lifted. So, you're saying we flip the narrative? Turn this into our advantage? Suddenly, Yandy understood. This wasn't just a scandal, it was leverage. Drama wasn't the enemy in reality TV. It was power. Or would the rumors keep spiraling the moment that cast member hinted at a hidden secret?